All right, hi, Paul Good News Planet. I'm here with A.I Fabler. Hi, how are you? Do I say AI? Is that the way to
AI
say
is
it?
fine, yeah.
Okay, which does it stand for something, or were you given that name by birth?
Artificial intelligence.
Oh, I'm talking to artificial intelligence. So are you a real person?
You can call me Auntie.
But am I talking to a robot or a machine, or are you a human being? Are you a Homo sapien?
I don't feel like it today, to be honest. It's been a hard morning so far. And by the way, the good news is that I'm 18 hours ahead of you and I've survived. So you've got at least 18 hours to look forward to.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting for me. I didn't think about things like that, but it's good to know. In any case, but you have a couple things that are very interesting to me, and quite a few things, and some that I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. And I'm gonna start off with the what the heck are you talking about? Because I don't know, and I love when I don't know because then I learn something and I appreciate learning something. And then the audience, maybe they don't know also because they're my friends and they don't know that much either. So that's because they're my friends. That alone proves their concerns. Okay, let's at this. Here it is. Will the world survive a woke? WOKE agenda. Now I know about an egg yolk, and I know about Mighty Mite, and I know about Vegemite. I mean, you're in New Zealand, so I'm going to talk a little bit of your language. You call it different. You don't call it Vegemite. What do you call it?
We have Vegemite. We call it Marmite.
Yeah, I know that New Zealand it doesn't exactly have the same. Because your beer is different than the Australian beer. Why is that?
Well, it's made in a different country. Cleaner water.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Next thing I know, we're gonna have problems there between those two. In any case, they also have you have the yachts and you have those boats over there. You got a beautiful country, and is your president still the president of that place? I saw her walk on some kind of bridge once, and 60 Minutes show. It's a woman. Do you still have that?
She's a prime minister.
Prime minister.
Yeah, the rumor is that she's a woman, but you have to be very careful these days because we don't actually assign sex to people. We assign gender to them depending on what they wish to be. I think she wishes to be a female prime minister.
All right. Well, I appreciate what you're talking about, and I'd be perfectly honest with you. I'm happy with anybody being happy with whatever they want to call themselves. It's just a little confusing, the whole scenario. I was actually co-captain with Bruce Jenner, who became Caitlyn Jenner. So in essence, and I'm happy for him and her. Why do we got to bother anybody for? You have any suggestions of why do we bother? You get so hung up on these things. Some do.
I think it's the bother that's bothering us. I think most people are like you. They say, well, why are we so bothered about this? But then most people are just using common sense. And what we're railing against is people who are not using common sense. And that's really what the woke agenda is all about.
All right. See that? You're 18 hours ahead is paid off. I can see so far. Now explain to me 18 hours ahead. 18 is my lucky happy. That's one of my favorite numbers. In Jewish, in Yiddish, it means chai, CHAI, which means health, and so on. What is woke?
Well, woke is a catch-all word which has now become extremely convenient to describe attenuated political correctness. It's about 20, 30 years since we started using political correctness to describe people who seemed to be extraordinarily extreme in their beliefs and didn't want to listen to anybody else's beliefs. But now we've got this catch-all, and it's caught on in the last 2 years. Interestingly enough, it caught on since I wrote this book. I started writing this book, Agenda 2060, in 2019. And at that stage, woke was, if you were really up with the play at a liberal university, you knew that there was this saying that came out of black street talk, I'm woke to you, which means essentially I'm awake to what you're trying to say or do. And so woke was picked up and has been used ever since to say, essentially, we're alert to the fact that you're trying to exercise your power over everything that we do. And there we go. It's now worldwide.
Give me so well. That doesn't sound like such a good word. It sounds like so there's their judgment of what they think that somebody is doing to them
or to others.
Or to others. Okay.
Certainly judgmental. There are three types of people. There's the woke, and there's the anti-woke, and then there's the great mass of people who are in between, who are just the dumbfounded, don't know what the hell people are talking about when it comes to the woke agenda. Now, wokeism comes out of the universities, but it's been coming out of universities for so long in so many forms that you have to keep up with the language. It started out as postmodernism, which was, French intellectuals, post-war French intellectuals for the most part, and their view of the world, which was somewhat Marxist, was very much that the cultures of the world were dominated by the power structures. The people who exercised control over the language, in fact, exercised power over the people. It used to be that Marxists regarded the working class people as the ones who were being dominated by capitalists and the bourgeoisie. Well, that has gone right out of favor now. And what it is that the intellectuals have moved on to say that there are essentially victims and people who victimize them. And of course, if you want to have a moral right on your side, then you're going to defend the people that you perceive to be victims, and you're going to attack the people who appear to have made them into victims. And so this is passed through the German universities and intellectual set across the Atlantic, stopping off in Britain along the way, unfortunately, landed in the US probably in the 80s and 90s, came out of the universities in the late 90s and in the early 2000s, and has now spread through probably two generations of young people who are the products of those universities, who have moved on into the media, into the upper echelons of state bureaucracy, and of course into the human resources departments of major corporations. So you have them sitting on one side, and then you have the anti-woke sitting on the other side, who believe that everything the woke say is totally insane. But behind many of the issues that the woke fraternity raised, I believe there are some very humanitarian ideals. It's merely the way in which they've raised them and the absurdity to which they've carried them that prompted me to decide that the only way to really get around this subject was to treat it satirically. And once I went down that path, I realized that it was extremely easy to show up the absurdities. And that's what Agenda 2060 is about. It's a book about absurdities. What would happen if a world government, as we will probably have if the World Economic Forum gets its way in 40 years' time, then if it built its policy settings around the woke agenda of today, what would it look like?
Whoa, look, this is very interesting to me. Okay, because I don't know anything about it. I don't. I also don't follow too much of the politics. I'm a John Lennonist, and so I believe in one world. And I usually show. I don't have it. I have it in the other room. My card from the moon, the NASA photo, the blue marble of the world as one place with no boundaries and no border, which I personally call segregation. And so I'm all into the Homo sapien kind of thing. We're all brothers and sisters, and I guess I might be one of those guys that are sticking to his mindset. And I find it very hard to actually deviate from that Homo sapien comment. In any case, maybe somebody can, unless they're an AI machine or a virtual reality machine or a technology or something. But maybe they're human too. And are the plants and the animals. But let me get to my a couple questions. Don't the meek already own the earth, inherit the earth? The meek. Where do meek fit in? Wasn't there somebody said the meek will inherit the earth? And I say the meek have already inherited the earth.
Well, that would be nice. It's certainly a biblical interpretation of nirvana. I don't think that there's any likelihood that that the meek have inherited the earth currently. I think what you're suggesting by that is that if you wait long enough, they will. That all power-hungry people eventually self-destruct or are overtaken by other power-hungry people, which is how I would see the history of the world. But victimhood, which is one of the central planks of the woke ethos, that people are essentially made victims by other people in power. Victimhood is a way of dividing communities. So if you're wanting to understand the radicalism of Black Lives Matter, for instance, and I believe you're of a generation like me who probably thought that things were going pretty well after Martin Luther King and we were on a good course. I certainly was very conscious during the 1970s and the 1980s of the concept of miscegenation, that we would all blend and we'd never judge each other by race. We'd all be colorblind. Well, that's anathema to the woke ethos. The woke ethos says, no, we've got to show that the white patriarchy is essentially all about privilege and power. And until white people take on that shame, then we're not going to cure any of the evils in the world. The only way to ensure that everybody buys into that is to try and exaggerate the supposed evils of the world, so that little children now going into classrooms aged between 5 and 7 are being taught that if they're white, that they are oppressors, and if they're black, that they are victims. These are little kids who want to play with each other. So it's pretty sick.
Very sick. Ridiculously sick. In Yiddish, we call it meshuggah sick. Not so. And so, at least then I'm going to stick with that word too, and that thought. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. We're the one world, the milestone company. We got Happy Face. We own it with arms and legs, and we have 5 different colors of skin as our happy faces. And we have yellow, we have a black, we have a brown, we have a red, and we have a white. And they're just symbols of the majority in my mind, But even my own grandkids brought it up about, how could you have that? Okay, so I'm very concerned, extraordinarily concerned about what we're talking about here right now. Okay, for the future of our youth and the future of the world. Now, will it be better? And I do the World Peace Day concerts. I did Woodstock. All right, I did the 20th anniversary of Richie Havens in Times Square, and this year I have the Great Lawn. I have Times Square for the International Day of Peace, September 21st, and we're going to do it in 193 countries. I need your help in New Zealand. In any case, if you'd like to help. So I'm an interfaith, all faith minister, spiritual. I'm just saying these things because this is I've done my hard work. We had a multicultural marketing and advertising agency, so we've helped probably 150 different ethnic communities. I represented all of them in my company. And I made them money. So they like you better when you make some money, and I didn't charge them until I made the money, so I wasn't I was an expense. I was only an asset. They did take me out to a lot of lunches, and I am overweight. But the point is this, that how are we going to deal with this kind of thing? I mean, are you telling me, then you just said something to me, another thing I don't know, because I don't pay attention to this, because all I watch is Seinfeld and Disney. I'm trying to stay away from this insanity because I think it's bupkis to begin with, especially this whole political scenario. I'd like Mother Teresa to run the world. And so, World Economic Forum, are you saying there's going to be a world government? I'm okay with it. I want a world government. I want a world leadership. And I want Mother Teresa and Gandhi, and I want some spiritual leaders to make us all just love each other. What do you think?
Well, I don't think any of those people would actually be willing to accept the mantle of world leadership. They'd realize just how difficult it is to herd the cats that are humanity into agreement. They are much better off dealing with well-defined problems. And this is not a well-defined problem. This is actually like a virus. This is in the same way that that COVID came out of a Wuhan laboratory. This virus of wokeism has come out of the universities and it's spread. Now, I guess we're beginning to see that viruses eventually work themselves out. They are so desirous of finding hosts everywhere that they weaken in their killing ability, but they strengthen in their infection ability, their ability to be able to infect people. And this is very similar to wokeism, I think, that its real desire is to spread as wide as possible. And if it's too intense in what it says, then it creates a bigger resistance amongst people. At the moment, I think you have, what did Hillary Clinton call them? The deplorables. The deplorables being people who just go to work and come home at the end of the day hoping that they can put food on the table and that their kids are okay and that their wife doesn't have to work a third job in order for them to be able to pay the insurance bills. Those are the deplorables, but there are an enormous number of them.
Whoa, wait a second. I didn't know deplorables is not a nice word. Those are in my mind, heroes. Those are the meat. Meat. Those are the ones that own the earth. Because every dictator goes down. It's just a question of time. Okay, the bully eventually, from the caveman, from the day that the human beings were born. I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly, but there was one big or small person that people were afraid of, human security. And that person, said, I'm going to bop you in the head unless you listen to me. And, people would listen because they don't want to get their family hurt or killed or something, whatever. There's always a bully, but the bullies always go down. It's just a matter of time. I don't even think they understand the reality that the good odds, it's a 50-50 that they're going to get shot or people are going to beat them up because they're tyrants. They're the tyranny. People don't want tyranny. They want to be me. They want to go home and feed their family and just be nice, which is the way most of the world is. See, we're on that good news thing. We're into peace. The world's at peace. There's just a few that can't live in a way that is kind to each other, and they have to beat you up or take from you or bully you. So deplorables, why did you use that word?
Why did she use that word?
Yeah, what is that word?
Why did Hillary Clinton use that word?
Yeah, Isn't that a bad word? Deplorable? Is deplorable?
Absolutely. She was writing them off. She was essentially saying they're not even worth consideration. These people are deplorable.
Italian, a fungul. You know what Italian is? A fungul. Oh, that's terrible. So I have to curse him, but I'm not going to curse in English. Curse in Italian. But
really? They are the majority of the people.
Of course, they're the majority. They're everybody. There's only the 1%ers, right? Isn't that the way the world has described the people of wealth or to do or whatever?
Yeah. So I think the point that I was making is that those people don't engage in these absurd conversations about victimhood and identitarianism. They're just getting on with life. But when they encounter it, they say, what the hell are they talking about? What is this nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be our savior. That's going to be what saves the world.
No doubt about it. It's the meek will inherit the world and have already done it. It's just a question of when they get to a little bit of closer to the changing things. I have to do a piano concert at 7. So my question to you is this. You wrote a book and you wrote this book, 2060s. Let me ask you a couple of questions here. All right. First question, 26, why 2060?
40 years out. George Orwell wrote 1984 in 1948, which was 40 years out. He thought he was safe doing it. And you and I know that 40 years passes very quickly, but I think I'm reasonably safe at this stage. Unfortunately, it's being overtaken by events every single day.
Okay, there'll always be an event that will overtake it to a degree. To those people that are involved with those kind of stupid events, and the poor meek and mild, and the people that are undeplorable, have to suck and live with that bullshit. All right, so excuse my language. You got me an emotional feeling with this, with your brilliance. You're a smart man, and I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. I'd like to talk to you again. And the book. So why did you wrote this book? You say in a satirical way to say what schmucks they are, and or whatever you want to say that they are. Why else did you write this book? What are we going to learn from the book?
Well, let me tell you how it started. I'll try and make it brief so that you can get away to your.
You got about 5 minutes more.
Okay, so I was at an artists and writers and academics retreat in Italy in 2019, and in the evenings we sat down at the table with everyone and said what we were working on, and there were some Californian academics there, including an economist, and I found as soon as I entered conversation with him that first of all he was completely devoid of humor, but secondly, everything I said, he reacted like I'd thrown a hand grenade at him. Having been a journalist and a screenwriter and what have you all of my life, I use conversation in order to provoke people to express ideas, to have some sort of a confluence of ideas, hopefully at the end of it, but not necessarily to agree on everything. And so I was very disturbed by this because I didn't want to spend a fortnight in the company of people who were speaking a rote mantra to me on every single subject. So I told them about what I was working on, which was a film script set in Spain called Testosterona. And it centered around 2 aged Hollywood filmmakers who were poring over the entrails of their life, the hopes, and in particular, the failures.
I don't mean to stop you from what testosterone. I did the brain series. We talked about this testosterone. Testosterone. Are you talking about that same testosterone that is testosterone that makes you perform?
Yeah. Well, okay. No, but if you reach a certain age, it's a topic that comes up, shall we say?
Yeah.
Anyway,
we put a bag on somebody's. they had carried a bag of testosterone and kept on coming into them. The guy had 700 kids. It was an unbelievable situation.
Yeah.
Go on.
So let me tell you.
Go on,
So the wife of one of these academics, her face fell when I told her what the plot was. And she stuttered and stammered, and she eventually got it out. And she said, I simply can't believe what you're telling me, she said. So this movie centers around two men. I said, yes. And she said, and they are white men. I said, yes, that's right. And they're old men. I said, yes, that's right. And she said, so it's sexist, ageist, and racist.
And you said?
And I said, well, that sounds like the trifecta to me, but I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Now, the following day, I said, I'm going to have to write something that gets through to them. So I wrote a skit about, set in the future, about an economy where people were encouraged, incentivized to identify their levels of victimhood. Okay, so you might be black. You didn't have a father who stayed at home. You have one leg slightly shorter than the other, or at least one eye that isn't working as well as the other eye. You have a slight stammer. You suspect that you have attention deficit syndrome because somebody at school told you that. So you're building up your levels of victimhood. Now, on the basis of your levels of declared victimhood, your universal basic income is set. You get society points the more you are a victim. And it reached a point of absurdity where people were competing with each other about their levels of victimhood, to the point where there really was no one left. That able-bodied white males, for instance, were now a tiny minority. And this caused such a blowout in the budget that it had to be somehow reversed. Well, that was the starting point of the story.
Gotcha.
It was totally absurd.
Where can we get the book? What's the name of the book?
Agenda 2060, that's Agenda 2060. And agenda2060.com is my website. You can get the book in paperback or Kindle or whatever on Amazon. And I do hope you enjoy it. Have I sent you a copy?
No.
I'm going to have to send you a copy.
Yeah, send me a copy. I like what you're talking about. It's very interesting. I'm going to ask you one last quick question, though, but it has to be quick because I got to go play piano. What's peace for you? What's peace mean to you? Peace.
What does peace? Peace means. Peace means to me in a domestic setting, the freedom to take decisions for yourself that do not adversely affect other people.
All right, we're going to stick with the domestics you got to say. You're a good man. Thank you, AI. That was enjoyable. I learned some things, and I'm sure my audience did as well, because there are things that I believe are important for us to know more about, because it is in the forefront. Even when we started about male female, this is in the forefront of our youth and our television and our media, because it's different and people want to, will in essence recognize it / promote it / use it to get audience. They'll do all kinds of things to help it become more recognizable.
Well, I think I suspect, like you, that we can talk about anything if we talk pleasantly to each other.
Of course. I love that. We're going to end with that word, pleasant.
Okay, Paul.
You smile when you say the word pleasant. AI, thank you very much.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice talking to you. We'll speak again.
Okay.